The From Busy to Rich podcast helps financial advisors grow their businesses beyond the products they sell and the assets they manage, increase profitability, and reclaim their time by providing strategies and insights that will not only change your life, but practice.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to a very special From Busy to Rich podcast. As you know, I'm Wes Young. Justin's not here with me today, but I do have a very special guest. And if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you've heard me tell stories about my dad. And whether it was the potato gun story when I was 15, whether it was the times where he was operations director for Blockbuster Video and kind of saw the heyday times, and then also saw the demise coming even before most people saw it. And he taught me the best ways to invest. It was in yourself and in other people to be able to bring value to the world. But you've always heard me talking stories about my dad. Today, I wanted to sit down with him and let him hear let you guys hear from him directly, because I think there's a ton of lessons to be learned in his journey. Dad, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, son. I listen to it every week, even though I'm not an advisor or anything, but I've always enjoyed it. So thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for allowing me to be born.
It was my pleasure.
That's great. So Dad, let's start with Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
So for those that were too young to maybe remember, that maybe listen, certainly you've heard of Blockbuster. Blockbuster Video in the day was massive. Like at its peak, you told me like 9,000 stores.
Oh, just incredible.
Yeah. All across the country. And I mean, Friday, Saturday nights were like you went to Blockbuster. That was, you got your movies and rented them all. And you were the operations director for a large private franchise.
Right. Not corporate, but large franchisee.
Right. And they bought that you got bought into the mothership, right? But you were still in a private franchise, but carried the Blockbuster name. And you're responsible for, hundreds of employees. How many stores at the time?
We had roughly 30 at the time. We built actually over 60, and our company did. And just through maneuvering and better deals, getting different franchisees, we pared it down to about 30, and that was kind of our mainstay.
Yeah.
In there.
And well, tell me what like a day in the life of you was like. Like, what are the things you were doing as operations director? I mean, I know it seasonal. You were building stores, you were selling stores, but like, what was that? What was that role?
It was the coolest job I ever had. And in the beginning, it was a deal like, well, this business probably in 5 years it's going to be gone. Everybody anticipated that, but I had a good friend, the guy that owned the company I worked for, very good friend, and he asked me if I would come and help him run those. And so I did. And the 5 years stretched out to be, it was over 25 years by the time we were, when we had to end up closing them all down.
Yeah.
But the excitement, you can imagine, everybody loves movies. Everybody loves to go to the movie, but to be kind of the spot where everybody came to you and everybody loved Blockbuster, everything except late fees. Nobody, if anybody remembers late fees out there, sorry, but we had to make a buck too. So
yeah,
it was exciting a lot of times because for me and your mother, we got to travel around to go to a lot of different Blockbuster venues or places where we had meetings and stuff. And I, like you said, I was on the board. It was a franchisee advisory board,
right?
What it was,
right?
And so we had some weight, but we didn't have enough to persuade, completely,
right,
with Blockbuster.
Do you feel like? And I want to in a second go to the like when they began to change in their culture. But was there a time, early days of those meetings, when you're on the advisory board, you're franchisees to the main board, was there a time you felt like they actually listened and they did stuff about the things that you guys were bringing up? Was there a culture like that?
Absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, it seemed like, and we went through so many CEOs on the corporate Blockbuster side.
Yeah.
And everybody comes in with their own ideas. And it seems like in the beginning it's been a while now, but I do remember, we would sit in those boards, they would come out, their management would come out, and a lot of times the main, the CEO would come out, and we talk about issues that are in the business and what can we do to fix these and stuff. And sure, they responded.
Yeah.
And they wanted to. There would still be some things that they would think, no, we're not going to do that. And they had right to do that.
Yeah.
And called us on it. But then, and we started getting the CEOs and stuff coming in there that weren't quite as flexible, or open to, what, this might be something true. You kind of distance yourself if you're not in the stores and stuff like that. And we always prided ourselves on being there for the customers and listening to them and what can we do to help you guys. And,
yeah. Yeah. And so things were great. I mean, you guys are pumping along, making a ton of money. I mean, just printing money. And then I remember it was sometime in 2000. So I was not living at home anymore. I remember where I was. I remember we were at my grandparents' house in Killeen. And I was you and I were catching up and talking, and you said, what's happening in, business? You said, I think our days are numbered.
Yes. In the early parts of that were when like Netflix kind of popped up on the board there, and they were coming out with this. They'd mail you your videos and stuff. Yeah. And of course, we talked all about that, and we were concerned and let's do something about it. Well, the management at the time, they weren't fast to react to that.
Yeah.
And as I remember some of them, they thought, well, nobody's ever going to like that or do it. We would have people come in, and our customers, and they're saying, hey, I've heard about this deal. Are you guys going to do anything? And we would try to explain, well, we're not sure. We're looking at that now.
Sure.
Yeah. And so then, we would pass that information on. And in the meantime, Blockbuster they were starting to hurt a little bit. I mean, the business was getting chipped away a little bit, and they came up with this brainiac idea to get rid of all the late fees.
Yeah.
So any late fee charged, well, behind the scenes, those late fees were pretty much your profit margins.
Yeah.
And no late fees, you have no profit, right?
Right.
And then that starts eating away. And we had the flexibility to go the no late fees way, which most of the franchisees did because it was supported greatly.
Oh, it was advertised all over the place in the Super Bowl commercial.
Exactly.
That's great for a company that's losing money. Let's spend money on a Super Bowl commercial, right? This will make it better. Awareness is our problem. People just don't know about Blockbuster.
A big blimp, a Blockbuster blimp floating around out there and stuff,
I would take a second on that, Dad, because here's something I see common for all the advisors listening. This is something I see common in our space, is oftentimes people focus on things, and again, we had Dennis William Mosley on here several weeks ago, and guys, for most of the time, awareness is not the problem. Like, people being aware of that you do the work you do is not the problem. So you can get a better website, you can have better marketing and send out, but being engaging is generally being someone or some. In Blockbuster's case, business people want to engage with is what the problem. Netflix was a company people liked engaging with, and Blockbuster used to be one, right? And gradually, as innovation came and technology came, all that kind of went to the wayside. And I think that's just a great lesson for all of us is sometimes we focus on polishing a lot of things that are really not going to get you the same bang for the buck. I think you should have a website. I think you should have a cool brand. All that's great. But are you engaged? What client experience are you inviting people into? And where do you need to update and upgrade? And the whole normalize the new thing that we talk about all the time on the podcast, which is that, our greatest opportunities to recognize our future possibilities isn't about abandoning our normal. Also not about rejecting new. It's about keeping tension between the two. And I think all the times you told me this story and then reading the book, No Rules Rules, about Netflix, when the Blockbuster kind of got to the point that many people get to, which is we're the giants in the industry, making a bunch of money, and the Netflix startup comes in and says, "Hey, we've got this idea that was challenging Blockbuster's new," and whether it was arrogance or whether it was simply just fatigue or complacency, I remember the Aniaco, I think, was the CEO at the time in 2000 when they met with Netflix.
Yes.
And he said, how much would Blockbuster need to pay for Netflix after he hears the pitch? And they said, well, it'd be $50 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, but they were a $6 billion company. So it's not even a percent,
Right.
And he said, look, if we want to build that, we do it ourselves. Plus, nobody's not going to want to go to a video store.
Exactly.
So that old defending the normal is something that's so tragic to becoming what we're capable of. And in Blockbuster's case, that's what happened. And then, of course, the tough parts, I think, when you are like, so we transition because Blockbuster filed bankruptcy in, I think it was 2009.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say 10, 9, 10.
Yeah. So when this is like the harder question, when everybody kind of knew the Titanic is sinking, right? This is going to sink and it's going down. What was that like personally? You built a career there. You had teams depending on you. How did you process that?
It was tough. I'm telling you. And it was, a business. And when you find those businesses that you love, that's a real kicker because you really love doing that. And it's fun. And it's just, you make a living, good living, but it's just an enjoyable place to go and stuff. Then when that starts unraveling and there's no way out on that, the way they did it, they filed bankruptcy. And I got to say, under some of those CEOs, Aniaco early on, he made such a huge amount of money. I mean, he carried a lot of weight on, hey, we need to keep going this way, which it failed.
Yeah.
And so they filed a bankruptcy and
he's long gone by this point.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. Yeah. We've already been through 2 or 3 other guys since then.
Okay.
Yeah. And because they just couldn't make it. They all had a plan, but they let's go, but let's see what's going on around us.
Yeah.
And they did not. And then where was I going with that?
What it was like for you personally? You had these district managers that were some of your best friends.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. We had such great teams. We had we were divided out into like 5 different areas where there was multiple stores and different district managers did them. And we had our meetings. Back then we weren't quite as modernized as you though. We didn't have Zoom and these kind of things. We literally brought everybody into our office, which we had at the time up in Fort Worth. And that's where we had our meetings.
Yeah.
And we would have, huge expenses to do all that stuff, but it was so well worth it.
Yeah.
And the people, they appreciated it, went back, did their jobs and everything. But when we finally had to say, hey, that's it, that 5 years is up now, which is 20 years later, a little bit more than 20 years since we started it. And it was like, well, what we'll do is we'll do the best we can and we'll get out of this without just, if you can imagine, I mean, everybody's starting to shut down. They're going to Netflix. Redbox came out. We didn't talk about Redbox.
Oh, yeah. They passed on that one too.
Man, that one just was a nail that really was driven in there that really hurt because when they wanted alternative ways to present that to the public to get them. Here's another way we can get you the movie. You won't have to go into a clunky old Blockbuster store or somebody's video store.
Yeah.
So they would do that, and they can look. You can come and get out of a red box in case any of your listeners that they lasted for a pretty long time.
Yeah,
they did. They're out by every Walgreens and drugstores, or they're out there. But just to get the videos in people's hands, and so it chipped away, and then that was a big one. So we had to face the music, and I'm happy to say that we were one of the last franchisees standing.
Yeah,
in Texas in our stores that we had, and even up in Oklahoma we had a few and stuff. But when that happened, and it was no turning back, and we started gracefully closing down our stores, trying to sell off stuff as best we could. And fortunately, when Blockbuster was very profitable and stuff, the man that I worked with that owned the operation, he was smart enough. He converted that Blockbuster money into on his restaurant side, and owns a whole lot of.
And he owned all the real estate the Blockbuster sat on.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So he was a very smart entrepreneur.
So guys, listen, I think there's a lesson just for our clients in and of itself. I talked about this before, but you got these operators, they got a great business that's generating their money, and they require a physical location to do it. And oftentimes it's not entering in their mind that, why don't you buy this place? Why don't you buy the property? Because they're thinking, well, it's going to cost me more to do that. I could put this in an operation. And interestingly, that's not always the case, and it's almost never the case long term to go ahead and buy, because you not only you buy, you have to come up with a down payment, and then you can finance the rest, but you have all these amazing tax benefits like depreciation and accelerated depreciation, and things that when we run the math for clients, and we'll say, have you ever thought about what it would look like to buy this? And for most people, it's just like, well, we just been busy doing our thing. Well, let's run the math. And it comes out sometimes less expensive, sometimes the same, sometimes a little more in the beginning, but then the years that you're operating that, you've got this appreciating asset. And when you decide, or in this case of Blockbuster, when you don't evolve and the business goes away, now I think they turned them all into what it was like Pinky's liquor stores or
oh my God. Well, there was a lot of dental places.
That
was a biggie. And but they were good locations. They were, and some locations start off good and they kind of slide back a little bit, but generally they were all pretty darn decent locations.
Right.
And we made out on those. We were profitable closing down those stores, which most of the other franchisees, they just gave up, put a out of business sign on there. But we tried to, sell off our stuff to our customers.
Yeah.
And you can't believe how many customers wanted Blockbuster shelves to put in their entertainment rooms or whatever. Whatever they did, and bought, stacks of movies. You can't.
I'll bet.
It was a dream. I don't know I wonder if they're still being able to play those movies. I mean, people got rid of their VCRs, of course, they've gone a long time ago, but even the DVD players and stuff, I don't know how many people do that anymore.
Was there any, like, in those closing down years, is there any like leadership lessons that you took away that you might not have learned if it had just kept growing?
Yeah, there was. Well, that's I know I kept going on and on with trying to be a positive influence as we closed. I tried to even help some of our people get jobs, and anybody, glowing recommendations and such as that. But the good people is, I don't know how to answer that, son. It's I think I got better even as we went through those harder times. Like people do, everybody does. When you go through hard times, it makes you better.
Yeah.
If you don't let it
I would say everybody gets better. I would say you have a choice, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you chose,
I chose to.
regardless of the circumstance, to make the best of what you had to work with at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it worked out pretty good for the company and for myself and for
Yeah.
my a lot of these people are still my friends, you know,
Yeah.
even though it's been, gosh, I've been out of that business now for what, 12 years, 13 years or so. It was 2012 when we closed our last store.
Holy.
I know it's hard to believe.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you, just to switch gears a little bit, because one of the things that I think is one of the most important parts of your story that became an important part of my story is when I was growing up, you were, because you were on the road between Blockbuster stores across Texas. You go open them, you do that. We hunting trips we'd take together, places, fishing trips, things like that. But you always had audiobooks on like cassette tapes,
Oh, yeah.
And for those listening, a cassette tape is something that we used to listen to music on, but they also had like audiobooks of like Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and things like that. And you always had one in there. And I remember you were listening to them from store to store. And when I was in the car with you, we were listening to them. And this is 80s, 90s, 2000. What made you do that? Like, why?
I life lessons, I guess. I mean, I always wanted to do the best I could do and be the best I could be. And when I first, even out of it, even when I was in the service and I was young, I was in the Air Force, and a young soldier and stuff. I always wanted to be as good as I could possibly be.
Yeah.
And then I wondered, well, how can I do that and stuff? And then here's this way with these little cassettes and learning things and books and you did, and I had all this driving time, and so I may kill two birds with one stone here. I'm going to get there, but maybe I can pick up some information along the way. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Now it's wonderful to have, like your podcast.
Yeah.
Like all the media ways to get it out there. And I just was driven to do better for myself, for my family. And I like learning this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know that, that certainly is part of what I inherited from you by just observation. I think sometimes it's, with our clients, and we talk a lot about legacy. We talk a lot about how do you enrich your family heritage, not just leave an inheritance. We certainly take care of how to do that well, but the heritage that you carry with that, because I think everybody leaves one. And I think a lot of time it's by example, that you leave.
Thank you.
And that was one of the things that I always picked up to say, well, that's something that I'm going to do. And today our team always jokes because I consume so many podcasts and read so many books. And so I'm constantly sending everybody in my life. I'm like, you should check this out. You should check this out. So, that's the one of the jokes about me, but it truly is, because I remember Zig Ziglar used to say this: you're going to be the same person you are today, 5 years from today, except for the books you read, the people you associate with. And if we want to be better, if we're not focused and we don't have a self-development structure or rituals or habits in our lives, we're not going to grow.
Yeah.
And
well, you took what I was doing though, and you could put it times 10 on it. I mean, but you were always that way when you were young, and anything that you attempted to do, even from your high school days, or you're a great kid. You always were just the best young man, and me or your mom are so proud of you for what all you've done. But even at that time, you wanted to be in taxidermy. You took that, you ran with it, and man, it's like, well, he's going to end up being a taxidermist or something like that, because he was so good and could do all that. Anything you endeavored to do, you went the next mile to learn how to do it well. You raced motorcycles. I love that.
That's right.
That's right. But I mean, and you weren't satisfied to go like most people status quo. You raised that level up every time on everything you did. And, I just think that's awesome how you could take that.
So I want to talk about two other things.
Okay.
I've got two more topics, and then we'll close here. But one of them, I want you to talk about basically what you sometimes refer to as your little vacation, which was when you basically almost died, and I can probably tell the first part of this story better than you because you don't really remember the first part of the story.
That's for sure. You told me what happened.
That's right.
Pretty much. You and the family.
Yeah. So I get a call from mom at something like 2:00 in the morning. And everybody knows if your mother calls you at 2:00 in the morning, it's something. She's not just going, "Hey, just checking in. Everything's going great." Right. It's like, she goes, your dad's just not doing well. He's in the bathroom. His head hurts. I asked him if he wants me to call the ambulance. He said, call Wes. Now, at the time, you guys lived out at the lake, which is like 25 minutes from my house. And
right.
And I said, well, is Jim there, who is my father-in-law? You guys were living out at the lake together. And she said, yeah. I said, go get Jim. He's right there. And so then Jim said, we need to call an ambulance because you were kind of just not doing well. I mean, your head was hurt. You're kind of just not becoming less and less cognitive and cohesive. And long story short, the EMS got there. They end up helicoptering you from there to the hospital in downtown Austin. Mom and I go down there. You're in the emergency room, and you are just like a wild, like just they have your arms side down, and you're not cognitive. You're just kind of it's not going well. And they tested you, and they sedated you and tested you, and you had they figured out bacterial meningitis.
Yes,
and you went from many times up there, things may be getting better. You kind of started to come out a little bit, but you were still very crazy in the way you talking to us in your head. And then they ended up having to do an emergency surgery because the bacterial meningitis had gotten into your neck. And so they replaced parts of your spine with.
I've got a great X-ray.
Oh, I mean, it's super cool.
My X-ray is the neatest looking one you've ever seen.
And at one time, they said, hey, if anybody's wants to say goodbye, they should come now. So we had relatives coming in. Now that ended up happening like 3 times that they were thinking you're not going to make it. They called code blue. We had because your blood pressure, your pulse was gone at one point. And then they move you out to the place that they basically figured out later, send you to where the people go to die. And then you didn't die. You just kept living, although in this kind of bananas like mental state. Funny stories there. And then one day on my side, it was like you're back. Now you're back in your ability to, like, your mentally, your conversations with us, physically. You absolutely were back. So tell me what it was like when you knew, where am I?
Oh, it was surreal. I was there, and then 2.5 months later, I'm here again. But what happened? What happened to me? I couldn't. I took everything I had to with the walker walk across the room.
Yeah,
and you know how I am. I just.
Oh yeah.
I would be running.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, but it just, I feel so blessed and thankful that I am back.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't, it took me a long time. It seemed like a long time, but to figure out what happened to me, because I didn't know, no idea. And you guys told me, and I couldn't believe it.
Well, I think one of the big things in that was that, when they won, you did live, and they said, okay, you can go home now. So but the doctors told us, they said, well, eh, um, he's probably never going to walk again without the assistance of a walker.
Right.
He may never get to eat again because you'd every tube in the world. He had a tracheotomy at one point that you would learn to speak through, and so you were fed through your
yeah port
your port in your stomach that you were poured protein drinks into, and so he might never eat normally again, and he might not ever be able to use and see out of his right eye.
Yeah.
And because you had a patch on it, right? Because it wasn't working, and
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
thanks for reminding me.
Right. and then you're at home, and one of the things I got to observe there is every day you would do whatever you could do to get a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And you would, hey, today I was able to stand up on my own for this amount of time. Today I was able to use the walker and get through the house. Today I didn't have to use the walker to get through the house. And it wasn't overnight by any means. It was this constant work. And what the best observation is, because you've always been a very positive guy. I would say an optimist, but I'd say a grounded optimist, in the sense that you weren't ignorant of what the circumstances were, but you were still finding things to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Even those little increases, even though, and just for the listening group, Dad has run Pikes Peak Marathon multiple times. Was always very active as you're going. So when you're told you might not be able to walk again without a walker, might not be able to eat again, he loves food because he eats all the time, and or see out of your right eye, and he was always grateful then. But you were still grateful in the moments when you were, all those things were told to you, and you're like, well, I'm going to do everything I know to do about it, and just did the little things you could do every day, and had a great attitude about it. And today you can walk, you can run, you can eat fully, you can see out of both eyes. It didn't fix your hearing.
No, my hearing's going south.
Yeah, that was true before the meningitis, though. But
it was kind of going that way.
Yeah,
and then I'm still having my arthritis setting in, and all that kind of stuff. But no, I couldn't be more thankful. I know that if I can do all I can, then God will do the rest. And that's my feelings on why it's why I'm back as good as I am now.
Yeah,
and everything. I'm so thankful.
Yeah. So last question I got for you.
Yeah.
So when you think, so you're how old now? 72, 73 years old, and when you think about, we've got our family that's super close, and you think about, if there were things that you could tell me, Gage, Abby, their grandkids at some point in their life, if you had just a couple things to tell them.
Golly, I think one of the things, and I know you and I have had the conversation since we did so much together when you were younger, and everything, going places and stuff, and is try to find what you want to do, and try to, if you like what you do, don't just jump into something because I've got to make this much money or do this. Try desperately to like what you do, and then that's gonna be that'll be great.
Yeah.
And I think that you've shown that, because you've changed jobs a couple of times, but it's always you move to the next level. And I know that you love what you do now, because we talk about that too, and you always say that.
Yeah.
And the generation now they're in college, and they're going to TCU.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. If you're watching online, he's got his TCU grandpa shirt on, but he wears proudly.
I do. But I just, I pray for them to I don't know what they all go through these days, and I know it's tough out there. And I know it's tough for every a lot of people, but I just pray that they keep the first thing first and try to find what you would enjoy doing. And I think that's one of the keenest things we can possibly do. I don't have any other good grandfatherly, sayings or anything, I wish I did.
Who you are.
I'm not the speaker.
Yeah.
You're
Listen,
the speaker.
Who you are speaks more volumes than any words, and they get to observe that from you and see it in you. And you're a bright spot to every room you walk in. Glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Been fun.
I was a bit nervous about doing these things. I love podcasts. I listen to them all the time. And I do, believe it or not, I listen to yours every time too, even though I don't understand a lot of the stuff that you say because of the business side of it.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoy it. I think you provide with your audience, things that are very powerful, even if they're not related to, the business too.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm proud of you on that. Right. So
love you, Deb.
I love you.
Thanks for tuning in to From Busy to Rich. If something in today's episode sparked an idea or hit a nerve, don't keep it to yourself. Follow the show, share it with a friend, and let's keep building a community of advisors who want more. You can find more resources, tools, and free content at wesyounglive.com. We'll see you back here next time for more real conversations about building the life and business you really want.